The morning light was soft, but it hardly reached the corners of the quiet wooden house nestled behind the town. Inside, Linda knelt by a small cage, her hands gently placing fresh hay for two baby rabbits. The room was dim, and she frowned slightly. "These little ones need sunlight," she murmured, brushing her hand over one of the rabbits. "It's too dark in here." She sighed and adjusted the position of the cage. Outside, light footsteps echoed on the path, and a familiar voice called out, "Hello, Linda." It was Luna, cheerful as always, returning from the market. She carried a straw basket full of vegetables and bright-colored packages. Her smile lit up the entrance as she stepped in. "What are you doing here?" Linda stood up, brushing her hands off on her skirt. "Just working on a new home for the babies," she said with a soft smile. "I bought them yesterday. They're so adorable, Luna. Come sit with me for a bit." Luna laughed and lowered herself onto a low stool, her eyes lighting up at the sight of the rabbits. "They're even cuter than you described. When I have money, I'll buy one too. Where did you find them?" "There's a small farm behind town," Linda replied as she gently placed a feather decoration inside the new cage. "I want them to feel like they have a little palace." Her fingers moved carefully, showing her quiet dedication. "I just hope they get more light." Luna pulled out a bundle from her basket, opening it slowly. "Here," she said warmly. "I brought sticky rice from the market. It was the best-selling dish today. I know you haven't eaten yet." Linda's eyes softened. "You always think of me," she whispered. She sat next to Luna and unwrapped the package, revealing vibrant colors of rice and toppings layered carefully, each grain telling the story of someone's effort. "This must have taken a lot of work to make." "It did," Luna said proudly. "But you worked just as hard here. Let's eat together. Then you can finish the cage." The two shared the rice in silence for a moment. The rabbits twitched their ears, listening to the soft chatter and enjoying the calm atmosphere. Outside, the breeze rustled the trees gently, and the sky remained a perfect blue. Later, Linda stood up and dusted herself off. "I'll go look for some fresh palm leaves. The ones I have are no good now." She looked at the cage again, wanting everything to be just right. Luna rose too. "Let me help." "No," Linda interrupted gently. "You've done enough. I'll manage. I want to make it beautiful, like a real home." The sun dipped a little lower. Luna looked at the time and sighed. "It's getting late. I should go. But I'll come back soon, okay? I'll visit and bring something for the babies." Linda smiled, grateful. "Take care of yourself, Luna. Be safe." As Luna stepped out, the warmth in the air carried her farewell like a quiet promise. The rabbits blinked in the dim light, their tiny hearts beating with life, unaware of how fragile their little world was. But far beyond the quiet of that home, the clouds were gathering, soft at first, then darker. The air had shifted. By evening, what was once a warm, gentle breeze had thickened with the scent of rain. Linda placed the last bamboo strip over the top of the rabbit cage and leaned back, wiping sweat from her brow. "It's finally done," she whispered to herself. The cage, lined with soft hay and feather touches, looked like a tiny haven, one she'd worked on with all her heart. Inside the cage, the baby rabbits hopped slowly, sniffing around their new space. "Eat, little ones," Linda said softly, watching them. "Grow strong, okay?" Her eyes were tired but full of love. She hadn't rested all day, determined to finish building this home before nightfall. Then, a familiar voice rang out behind her. "Linda." It was Kuang, CEO Kuang, dressed simply for once, no business suit, just a clean white shirt rolled up to his elbows. He had come quietly, holding a folded umbrella, his face calm but a little wet from the mist outside. Linda looked up, surprised. "You came." "I was nearby," Kuang said with a faint smile. "Thought I'd stop in and see how you were doing." Linda stood, brushing her skirt again. "I just finished the rabbit's cage. Want to see?" He walked over and knelt beside her. "So you really did it," he said, peering inside. "You always go all in when you care about something." Linda's cheeks flushed. They needed a home, and I needed something peaceful to do. He looked at her for a long moment. "Still haven't changed, have you?" She glanced away, pretending to fix the edge of the cage. "Some things don't need to change." He sat beside her in silence for a while, both of them watching the rabbits chew on bits of carrot. The sky began to darken outside, and a low rumble of thunder rolled across the horizon. You should go, Linda finally said softly. It'll rain soon. But Kuang didn't move. He looked at the rabbits and then at her. You used to tell me you wanted to raise animals in the countryside one day. A quiet life away from business, from deals, from pressure. And now here you are. I didn't think you remembered that. I remember everything, he said quietly. Outside, rain began to fall. First light, then heavier. Linda quickly moved the cage further inside, away from the open window. But when she turned back, Kuang was already helping, lifting the cage carefully, his eyes full of concern. The softness in him reminded her of something she had buried long ago. You should go before the road floods, Linda said again, almost pleading this time. I'm used to the rain. I'll be fine. He nodded slowly. All right, but if you ever need help, I'll come back. You just have to ask. Then he was gone, into the rain, disappearing behind the veil of mist. A few hours later, Linda stirred from a light nap and blinked at the empty cage. It was open. Panic exploded in her chest. The rabbits, she gasped, rushing over. The gate had come loose, possibly from the earlier move. Her heart pounded. The little creatures she'd cared for, worried about, stayed up building a home for... They were gone. She stepped outside into the rain, calling into the darkness. Rabbit? Where are you? She cried. Come back. Please. The downpour soaked her to the bone, but she didn't care. She searched every bush, every corner of the yard, her voice shaking. I should have been more careful, she whispered through tears. I should have protected you. She crouched beside the wet ground, unsure what hurt more, the fear that they were lost, or the guilt swelling inside her chest. Behind her, the house stood quiet and still, a perfect little world undone by one mistake. And the rain kept falling. The morning came heavy with silence. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray, like a heart trying to heal after a long night of tears. Linda sat on the wooden bench outside her small home, her clothes still damp from the night before. Her hair clung to her cheeks, and her eyes were red from crying. The empty cage sat beside her, no longer a sign of love, but a painful reminder of her carelessness. She held the small door of the rabbit cage in her hands, opening and closing it slowly, over and over, like she could undo what had happened. You were just babies, she whispered. You didn't know the world was dangerous. And I was supposed to protect you. Her stomach turned. The sticky rice she had loved so much now made her feel nauseous. She hadn't eaten since the day before, but even the thought of food made her feel sick. Her favorite boiled peanuts, which once made her smile on the worst days, now tasted bitter in her memory. She pressed her hand against her chest. Why does this feeling hurt so much? She asked herself. Luna arrived quietly. She had a plastic bag in her hand, carrying some fruits and fresh bread. But when she saw Linda's face, she paused. Linda, she asked gently, stepping closer. Are you okay? They're gone, Linda said without looking up. The rabbits. I must have left the door loose. Or maybe it broke from the rain. I don't know. I just woke up and the cage was empty. Luna set the bag down and sat beside her. She placed her hand over Linda's. I'm sorry. I searched all night, Linda continued. I called for them again and again, but the storm was too strong. I was scared someone might have taken them, or that they're hurt somewhere. They're smart, Luna tried to comfort her. Maybe they're hiding nearby. Sometimes animals do that when they're afraid. But I was their home, Linda whispered, voice trembling. I promised to keep them safe, and I failed. The silence between the two friends said more than words could. Luna gave Linda a moment, then gently stood up. Let's look again. The rain is gone now. Maybe they're still out there. Linda slowly rose, wiping her tears. Okay. They searched the field, the garden, the edge of the trees beyond Linda's backyard. Linda's eyes scanned every shadow, every bush, her heart rising and falling with every false hope. Rabbit? Little one, she called softly. Come back, please. But there was no answer. Only the sound of leaves rustling and birds calling above. Later that afternoon, Kuang returned. He walked with a worried look on his face, and when he saw Linda's posture, slouched, tired, hands stained with dirt, he knew something was wrong. What happened? He asked, stepping forward. Linda turned toward him, eyes heavy. They're gone. What? Kuang asked, confused. The rabbits. They got out. The rain must have pushed the door loose, or I didn't close it properly. I don't know. Kuang was quiet. He didn't scold her, didn't question her. He only looked at her with a kind of understanding that said more than comfort. Then he walked to the cage, examined the hinges, the broken latch, and nodded slowly. We'll fix this, he said calmly. I don't need another cage, Linda said, almost in a whisper. What I need is to stop feeling like everything I touch ends up broken. Kuang stepped closer. Linda, you didn't mean for this to happen. You tried your best. You gave them love. That matters more than you think. She turned to him, eyes filled with emotion. Do you really believe that? I do, he said, because I've failed, too. Many times. In business. In love. But I learned that holding on to guilt only builds walls around your heart. And you deserve to feel free. His words softened something inside her. For the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe. They stood in silence for a while, side by side, looking at the empty cage together. And then, out of the corner of her eye, Linda saw something move near the bushes. Her breath caught. Kuang, she whispered. There, near the ferns. Did you see that? He turned, eyes scanning the grass. Then he saw it too, a flash of white fur disappearing into the green. Linda ran forward, hope igniting like fire in her chest. Rabbit, she called, dropping to her knees beside the bushes. It's okay. I'm here. And there it was, one of the baby rabbits, muddy and wet but very much alive, hiding under the broad leaves, trembling. Linda's eyes filled with tears. You're safe, thank God. You're safe. Kuang crouched beside her, and together they carefully lifted the rabbit and held it gently. Linda cradled it close to her chest, her voice shaking. One still missing. But this one came back. And in that moment, something in her heart came back too. Not just the rabbit, but a piece of herself. That evening, the light began to break through the clouds. After days of rain and gray skies, the sun gently returned, casting golden beams across the soaked earth. Linda sat on the porch with the rescued rabbit wrapped in a warm cloth on her lap. Her fingers moved gently across its damp fur as it quietly breathed, curled up in her arms. Kuang stood beside her, hammering carefully at the rabbit cage. He replaced the broken latch with a new one, using stronger materials, making sure nothing could break loose again. It won't happen again, he said without turning around. I'll help you build a better home for them. Linda watched him, the weight in her chest slowly lifting. Thank you, she said softly. Not just for fixing it, but for not blaming me. You don't need blame, Kuang said. You need someone to stand by you when things fall apart. Luna returned a little later with fresh vegetables and dry towels. She smiled when she saw Linda holding the baby rabbit. One is back, she said with a soft sigh of relief. That's a good sign. Maybe the other will find its way home too. Linda nodded. I hope so. I'll wait. Night fell again, but it didn't feel as lonely this time. Kuang stayed a while longer, sipping tea beside her, both of them sitting in silence. The rabbit rested safely between them, and for a while, everything was still. Just as the moon began to rise higher in the sky, Linda heard a small rustle in the garden. Her heart jumped. Did you hear that? She asked quickly. Kuang stood up and moved toward the sound. The bushes trembled slightly, and then, slowly, carefully, the second rabbit emerged. Wet, thin, but alive. Linda gasped. Oh my God, you came back. She dropped to her knees, her voice shaking with joy. You made it, you're okay. She gently scooped up the rabbit, tears streaming down her cheeks. She held it in her arms, beside its sibling, and rocked them both like a mother cradling her babies. Kuang stood behind her, watching, his chest tight with emotion. He didn't say a word, he didn't need to. Linda looked up at the sky. The stars were clearer than they had been in days. I thought I lost them both, she whispered. But maybe I was never truly alone. Luna sat beside her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You were never alone. We're all here. Together. The three of them, Linda, Kuang, and Luna, sat quietly in the soft light, surrounded by peace, by forgiveness, and by the fragile joy of reunion. Linda looked at Kuang. Maybe it's not about never making mistakes, she said softly. Maybe it's about what you do after. Kuang smiled. Exactly. You made a place for them, and they found their way back to you. The rabbits nestled together in Linda's lap, warm and safe. And in that small, simple moment, there was healing. Not just for them, but for Linda too. The night ended, not in sorrow, but in quiet hope. She knew life wouldn't always be this calm. There would be more storms, more losses, more lessons. But now she also knew something else. Even when things feel broken, love has a way of finding its way home. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Your support helps us create more emotional stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.